Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission of January 31st, 2018. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, please be sure to pick up a parking coupon on your way out for free parking. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, the commissioners and the staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers during any portion of this meeting. We will appreciate your cooperation. Please note that the Planning Commission action is final on the following items. Item 1.2B, use permit number 17010, and item 1.3B, waiver number 17006. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held January 17th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved. Finnegan.
Second, Hove.
Jerry, please call the roll.
Beckius?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Finnegan?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Hove?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Jerry to read all of the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Jerry, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. Item 1.1 is text amendment number 18001, amending the zoning ordinance, chapter 27.63, to include a correction to section 27.63.630(1)A to add the B2 district for where indoor theaters may be allowed consisting of not more than 250 seats, and repealing section 27.63.630 as hitherto existing. Item 1.2A is change to zone number 17038 from R2 residential to RT residential transition district on property generally located at 6630 Star Street. Item 1.2B is the associated use permit 17010 to allow for the conversion of a single-family home into a salon business with waiver from Chapter 3.50 of the Design Standards for screening and landscaping for RT district screening on property generally located at 6630 Star Street. Item 1.3A is street and alley vacation 17012 to vacate a portion of the South 54th Street right-of-way south of LaSalle Street, generally located at South 54th and LaSalle Streets. Item 1.3B is waiver number 17006 to waive the 90-foot minimum lot depth requirement per section 26.23.140A of the subdivision ordinance on property generally located at 5401 LaSalle Street. I would note again that this is final action on items on use permit 17010 and waiver 17006 unless appealed to the city clerk within 14 days of today's action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these consent agenda items?
I see none.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on any of these consent agenda items? If so, please stand and state that item.
Okay, I don't see any, so we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Approval.
Second, Finnegan.
Okay, I've got Harris moving and seconded by Finnegan.
Correct.
Ready for the vote?
Yep, ready for the vote.
Beckius?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Finnegan?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Hove?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
There are no requests for deferral, so we will now proceed to the public hearings. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes. Then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Jerry, please call the first public hearing item.
Okay, the first and only public hearing item is change of zone 17032 to designate the Seidel's House as a historic landmark on property generally located at 2110 A Street. Staff recommendation is for approval. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
I see none. Ed.
Well, I bring to you, on the recommendation of the Preservation Commission, who met on this in November, the Seidel's House at 2110 A Street. It's a very prominent, large stucco story, 2.5-story house on that busy corner of A Street and 21st. This property was built in 1913 and designed by the Lincoln architect Ferdinand Fisk. He thought well enough of it that it was not only published in the paper repeatedly, but he used it in his advertisements. And even published the floor plans in 1915 in a Lincoln Journal advertisement or series on his firm. Has a very high degree of integrity on the exterior, and sits on a block face where there are only 3 houses on the 6 lots, and so each of them are kind of similarly scaled, although this is, I think, the largest. It also has a very considerable degree of interior integrity and some beautiful woodwork on several floors. That's the entryway, the staircase, the parlor. It goes on and on. Mm-hmm. This would be, I think, sufficient to meet the landmark requirements of our ordinance on architecture alone. But then we also have Mr. Seidel's himself, who was a leading businessman in Lincoln in the early 20th century. Started out in bicycles as sort of a new technology, and then branched into newer technologies like radios, and then particularly automobiles, but also did own a radio station, an airport, a resort in Colorado. This was a very considerable figure, often partnered with Stewart in their ventures. Together they were Nebraska Buick Corporation that wholesaled to 5 states. They were a big deal, as his house looks. So this would qualify in and of itself for association with Seidel's, but I think also for the architecture. So I think we have a property that well meets the requirements and is recommended to you by the Preservation Commission, along with the standard guidelines that accompany properties. And with that, I would be happy to be accompanied by the applicant and also answer any of your questions.
My name is Lynette Hellerick, and I'm going to be residing at 2110 A Street.
Did I mention I'm Ed Zimmer from the Planning Department?
And I would like to just request that we have the change of zoning for a historical landmark. I feel that it meets all the requirements, and I will be living in this home.
Good.
Dancing around.
Questions?
Ed, did this used to be a group home?
No, I think there was a large family one time. It was the chancellor's residence for a succession of chancellors from the 30s, I think, through the late 50s. And then was a family residence again. The prior owner owned group homes, but did not use this one as a group home.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's where I was confused. Yeah.
I'm not aware it's ever had that use.
Okay, other questions? Thank you. Do we have testimony in support of this application? Do we have testimony in opposition of this application? Do we have any other staff questions? Would the applicant like to make any more statements? Okay. I believe we're ready to entertain a motion.
So moved. Washington.
Second, Beckius.
Discussion.
It's a beautiful home. I'm glad to see it's going to be preserved.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm always pleased when we preserve our historic structures. It has a lot of integrity.
Very appropriate. Okay, call the roll.
Okay, this is a motion for approval of change of zone 17032. Beckius?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Finnegan?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Hove?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Motion carried, 8-0.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. See none, so we are adjourned.
Thank you.